What's up, y'all? It's your boy Vinnie-Dangerous, and I'm back with another installment of Dangerous Minds. I'm gonna keep this intro quick. We're gonna be talking about the sad case of Quentin Miller, so stay tuned after the intro. All right, so last week, everyone was celebrating the 5-year anniversary of If You're Reading This Is Too Late, which many people would regard, if not one of the best projects that Drake has ever put out. I would say it came out in his best year, because not only did he drop that, he dropped What a Time to Be Alive with Future. He dropped dope guest verses on Future's album DS2, as well as on Meek's album. And he had his career-defining rap beef where he was able to, basically clown Meek for a majority of 2015 with songs like Charged Up and Back to Back. He got at him at his Toronto Music Festival. I can't remember the name of it right now. But let's just say he won. He beat a rapper that many people would have thought before that would have washed Drake. And in the midst of that beef, an innocent casualty, an innocent bystander was caught in the crosshairs. And his name is Quentin Miller. Quentin Miller was exposed by Meek during his little Twitter tirade he was going on around the time of his album, Dreams Money Could Buy. I think that's the name of it. I really didn't like it. During that press run, he went on a Twitter tirade and he talked about how Drake had a ghostwriter for his album. He was upset about it. Then he basically exposed that ghostwriter to be Quentin Miller. And Quentin Miller's blueprint is all over If You're Reading This Is Too Late. He put out a video last week during everybody else's celebration, basically saying that album, that beef, his association with those two rappers basically ruined his life and ruined his career. He was allegedly jumped by Meek Mill and his crew. His name is always going to be synonymous with that rap beef with Drake and his association with ghostwriting. Like, the guy's whole style was basically jacked by Drake. And now when people hear him, people associate him with being a Drake clone, which is unfair. Like, we know that Drake can borrow from other people. I feel like, it's never been confirmed, but you can kind of tell. I always thought that albums like Take Care was heavily influenced by The Weeknd. Nothing Was the Same is heavily influenced by Party Next Door. I feel the same way about Views to a lesser extent. So other artists have been able to contribute to Drake's albums and then have their own level of success after that. It may be a blueprint that they might be working, but you could also see that other artists have contributed to Drake's albums and then have gone on to their own level of success. Quentin Miller may have been trying to make that same leap that artists like The Weeknd and Party Next Door before he was exposed as the ghostwriter. And then reference tracks came out, and in a weird case, because most people, if you find out that somebody has a ghostwriter, people were expecting Drake to get Milli Vanilli, but it was really the ghostwriter that got all the heat, and Drake was able to walk away from it, because he was able to basically beat Meek Mill in the rap battle, that he walked away unscathed. Ghostwriting will always affect Drake's status as one of the best, but it never hampered his career. But Quentin Miller caught all the flack, caught all the heat, and it seems like even to this day, people are not willing to give him a chance. Now, when I go back and I listen to Quentin Miller's music, you could tell that, he doesn't have the same charisma, or at least his earlier work did not have the same charisma as like Drake or somebody like that, which is fine. He's not the finished product. Like, he's basically at a stage where you would think like an early, not comparing them like skill-wise or anything like that, but just saying in this stage of his career, he's kind of like an early Kendrick or an early J. Cole. before we got classics from them. They had earlier stuff where you could tell that they were not quite the finished product, but they had the potential, and they just needed that time to develop it, grow, and enhance themselves. Quentin Miller may have needed that same time to polish his style, like develop his style. That he could have been big. He could have been as big or bigger than some of the other artists we see out right now. The style that you hear, the style that you fell in love with on If You're Reading This Is Too Late, is mostly down to him. You hear his music, and it's funny when you hear, like, when you read the comments of people that actually support Quentin Miller and like actually like, enjoy his music and support the guy. Like, they say basically the same thing all the time. It's like, if Drake was spitting over this, if he would have took Quentin Miller's words, spit it over this beat, or if he did this video, if he took Quentin Miller's word and performed it just like he did it, then this would have 100 million views or 1 billion views or whatever. And unfortunately, that's just kind of like the nature of the game. I'm not a fan of ghostwriting. I've said it on this channel a bunch of times that, I'm not a big fan of rappers using ghostwriters, but because of the demand of the frequent output, especially with somebody like Drake, the demand for output, that maybe some help may be necessary to be able to put out 3 projects in a year or something like that, and to put out hundreds of guest verses, and while you're also working on your own project that's supposed to be coming out in the next year. Like, people's release schedules are crazy nowadays, so I can understand to a certain extent why some people on that level may look at that and say, I need to get some help. I still don't excuse it, and it still kind of eliminates you from the conversation of being the best. But regardless, I can see it. I get it. I'm not completely dismissive of it. And I don't think Quentin Miller going in and doing his job, and that's the crazy thing, is that when you really think about it, he was minding his business. He was a ghostwriter. He wasn't going to get writing credits from this stuff. He was just going to go in, write the music, or send the reference tracks, or be in the studio penning it, like, as they were like working on it. And he was just going to get in, get out, and do his thing. Meek exposed him. This is all on Meek, to be completely honest. And it's funny because the guy is now out of jail, and he's reformed. He's trying to change laws and stuff like that. And I saw a tweet where he basically is saying, addressing Quentin Miller without saying his name, basically like dismissed the whole thing. But the guy was affected by your actions. You even said it yourself that you were high and on drugs and stuff like that during this time. Like, that's why you was acting like that. That's why you were wilding. That's how you and Drake were able to come together and make amends with one another, because you were like, hey, I was out of it. I was tripping. I was wrong. You need to have that same conversation with Quentin Miller. You saw money in reuniting with Drake, but this man's life seems to be ruined. His dream is tarnished because he's always associated with that period in time. Even though you and Drake have been able to move on and do bigger and better things past that, past 2015, he hasn't been able to evolve past that because you were able to hamper him early in his career. I think it's pretty whack. I think it sucks. And if people are willing to like look past that, I think the guy deserves a second chance. He asked that in the video. He's not asking for money. He's not asking for a handout. He just wants to be able to make music and not be associated with the BS that was Drake versus Meek Mill. Those guys are friends now. All of that is water under the bridge. So he shouldn't still have to pay for that if those guys don't even care anymore. But unfortunately, I hate it, but I don't think it's ever going to get to that point. I'll support the guy. Like, I've heard him on other stuff. Like, I've heard his solo stuff. I've heard him on some stuff with Dom Kennedy that I thought was dope. Even going back, like, before doing this video, I went back and I listened to some of his stuff. And I'll even link some of the tracks that I liked in the description. But the dude got potential. Like, if you're reading This Is Too Late, then if you put on the Quentin Miller track, it's the same vibe, it's the same feeling, it's just not Drake. That's the only difference, but it's Drake spitting that man's words. I don't think he should be punished for just basically doing the job that he was hired to do. He was hired to come in, write for that album, write for, you know, Meek's album when Drake needed a guest verse. I don't see what the issue is. But, you know, that's just my 2 cents. I really didn't have a lot to say on it. I saw his video and it hurt me to hear him like that, being an artist, and to think that this is what you want to do, this is your dream, this is your life, and a situation that was completely out of your hands, wasn't your fault at all, but it just comes in and like ruins that. Like, other people are fighting and you just get caught in the crosshairs. So that's the sad case of Quentin Miller. I'm gonna keep my eyes out for him. I ain't gonna lie, I kind of forgot about him. I forgot about the whole Meek and Drake beef, because those guys made up, they were good. And without the Drake and Meek beef, I really didn't have him on my radar. But I'm gonna definitely make more of an effort, because after going back to listening to the dude's music myself and realizing like the dude's actually got some skills, he got some talent. Like, everything isn't for me, but I'm just kind of a different kind of rapper. But I do think the dude deserves a second chance. I think he has potential, and I think if you're into what you heard on If You're Reading This Is Too Late, then you would enjoy this guy's music. But that's my time. Tune in 2 weeks from now. Me and Cash are coming back on the show. She's gonna discuss with me, Gail and Oprah, and this whole thing. I don't care if it's considered old to some of y'all, it just needs to be addressed. But make sure y'all follow me at Dangerous Minds YouTube on IG. Find the Facebook fan page, facebook.com/Dangerous Minds YouTube. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. And until next time, much love.
It'll be our little secret. Either we exchanging evils or we exercising demons. She looked me dead in my eyes and told me fuck her like I mean it. Then I told her fuck me like you need this. On the low, it'll be our little secret. Either